this concept of things just sort of falling into place. I'm a big believer in that too.
Yeah.
What is that though? Is that you getting out of your own way? Like what is that? Isn't
that 70% of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say it's 70% maintenance of what can I do to do my part to stay out of the way. And then the other part, I always think of it as like this little super thin invisible thread, but you can feel the tug, and you just you have to be really gentle, and you have to pause when agitated, and you have to go for it when you're gonna, like, there's 4 walls in here, which one has the map behind it? It's that one, and you knock down the wall and it's there,
Yeah, what is that though? That's a
synchronicity.
Yeah.
Intuition. There's been times when, in just being myself, someone who I respect has looked at me and said, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
What are you even saying?
Sure.
And you remember that because it kind of, it stiff arms you.
But part of those are good because it realized, well, you were probably off on a fucking stupid tangent.
Yeah.
And that's part of being a person.
The surreal part is, I think part of the reason I'm still so interested, not just in life, but also, getting to do what I do, is I'm a fan. I love movies. I love creativity. I love music. I love culture. And the fact that I actually have a place in it while I'm observing it and digging it is like, it's an honor.
Well, that's a beautiful perspective. And that shows in how you carry yourself, and it shows in the work that you do appreciate it. One of the saddest things is someone who's in an amazing position who doesn't appreciate it, and that drives other people crazy too. Like, prima donnas drive people crazy for a variety of reasons, but one of the big ones is you don't appreciate how fortunate you are.
Well, I need to be kept right-sized, because I can easily fall into self-seeking and depression and self-pity and judgment and all that stuff. It's kind of it's a bit of a default, but I spend enough energy and I've had enough help over enough years to actually just say, oh, that's just awful, destructive behavior you're entertaining in your head,
Bad patterns, just bad thought patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we could all fall into those. I'm ruthlessly self-critical, and for me sometimes it's very hard to step outside and just take a pause and recognize that not everything's going to be right the first time you try it.
I'll be the first to tell you, do certain movies, or when we were doing Tropic Thunder, or one of the first, Iron Man movies, I'd go over to the monitor, I'd be like, play that back again. That was so good. Dude, let me see that again. I need confirmation.
Yeah.
Because it's always a miracle. Mm-hmm. You stayed in frame. You got the line right. Your eye line was right. The lighting was right. The sensibility was right. And you just look at it and you go, oh. It's like, I don't know, for me, it's like the playback of the perfect Superman punch KO, and you just go, show me that again.
Yeah.
But, yeah, self-critical is important as long as it doesn't bleed out into and over the edges and just make everyone else miserable.
Right, again.
I think there's an aspect of it that's clearly has to do with one's own morality, because it's too easy to jump on that wagon of it's a disease and my brain's been hijacked and I no longer have a choice in the matter. I think there's that element for sure, but past a certain point you have to stand up inside yourself and change. Everybody does with any issue. Ultimately, anything else is just a really new age excuse, if you ask me.
And what do you know about yourself now that you didn't know 10 years ago? What do you understand?
Well, I don't want to get too right wing about the whole thing, but I think ultimately it's somewhat of a moral dilemma. Even though a lot of programs and approaches say no, don't say that. It's just I'm certain there's a spiritual type stuff. I think ultimately you just have to, and I think getting a little older helps too. I mean, my experience is there's a lot of there's almost like Recovery Ranger, and they've gone through the spin dry, and now they've got, I'm fine, I got it all together.
Right.
Nobody is fine.
Doesn't work that way.
I don't think so.
Yeah, the ongoing process, a step at a time.
Sure.
Now, and you have a son.
Yes.
So now, does your life, looking at your life now and superimposing that possibility on your son, just scare the hell out of you?
Oh, I'll lock him down in a second.
Yeah. And what will you do to help him avoid that?
some people say there's a genetic component or predisposition. I think ultimately, again, it's about. I'm glad that there's one positive side effect, which is the whole thing doesn't seem glamorous to him, and I'm real serious about it too. I mean, again, nowadays it's like I don't know that, and I'm a little bit seems supportive, or people will say, oh, he's just trying to work the system and get another rehab shot. I mean, I just think, like, did I say I'd lock him down?
Yes.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
As far as the coolest letter I ever got was, I won't say where I was, prison. I got it from Jodie Foster, and she wrote me a letter about, and this was years after Chaplin had come out, about how that was still so relevant, Chaplin's life, the precision, the dedication, the what he had to do to be who he was in the epoch that he was, such an innovator and such literally a genius. You can't not believe that Charlie Chaplin was a genius. But Jodie wrote me this letter basically reminding me that I had already gone through the motions of understanding what kind of personality would persevere in what is essentially the same hostile environment it was when he started, with the same new versions of Red Scares and public turning against and for you, and personal proclivities becoming public and almost damning you. So he
went through all of that as well.
In his own way, sure.
Right. Yeah.
So that was a whole other thing, was remembering, like, oh yeah, what really sucks is when you live the lesson through the experience of shooting. In this case, it was a biopic.
Yeah.
All the good stuff, and then some of the downsides, some of the pitfalls, things TBA, to be avoided. And then you blindly go and disregard all that data. Because for me, best case scenario is anytime I get onto a set, hopefully it's entertaining, it's fun. Much more importantly, hopefully I'm deepening my understanding of the human experience by the privilege of being able to play.
Yes.
And that means that, even though it rarely occurs, that means my life experience after that moment should reflect those lessons learned.
Well, ideally, but you're
Yeah.
still in your 20s.
You're right. So when things finally started catching up with me being able to learn, implement, and not, as my dad always says, kid, make new mistakes. Once I was able to make new mistakes, which was in my late 30s, completely different ballgame.